To support the UnYoked podcast and to help others, please subscribe and rate right now. And if this resource is helpful, please tell a friend. Now, let's get started. Today's conversation is one a lot of people need, but not a lot of people are having. We're talking about toxic relationships, not just the obvious ones, but the subtle ones, the kind you slowly drift into, the kind you explain away, the kind you stay in longer than you probably should. And if we're being real, a lot of us just don't end up in one. We end up in a pattern. So today I want to go deeper than here are the red flags. I want to understand why smart, self-aware people still find themselves in unhealthy relationships, why we stay, how we actually evaluate the relationship we're in, and if needed, how to get out of it in a healthy and safe way. That's why I'm really glad to have Dr. Brooke Jones back with us. She's the founder of Stronger Women and has spent years helping women walk through abuse, healing, and rebuilding their lives with strength and clarity. This is not just theory for her. She deals with this stuff every single day. So if you ever question a relationship, ignored a gut feeling, or found yourself stuck in something you knew wasn't right, this conversation is for you. Dr. Brooke, I'm glad you're here. Let's get into this.
Great. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for having me, Todd.
Oh, this is going to be fun. Okay. Well, the topic is serious though. So let me say this. The word toxic is a big word. So I've used it before. And I mean, probably just in a way that says, I see something unhealthy reoccurring, but is there a definition of toxic or a clinical definition, or is that just a word we throw on something when it's really stenched with, unhealthy behavior between two people in a relationship?
Well, I think toxic is a great word for just a vernacular conversation of people explaining what this relationship is not working for me. This relationship is not healthy for me. This relationship is not building me up. This relationship is tearing me down. I think when we hear that toxic, we kind of think of all of those things, and it's a lot of different components. In some cases, Todd, it can be an abusive pattern. And in many cases, we've seen what you're saying, toxic is definitely the way abusive patterns are described. In other cases, it might be more of a pattern that can be changed more easily by an individual. And it might be something that's not abuse, but dysfunction, right? Because dysfunction happens and we're just humans, right? Humans that are a work in progress, and we make mistakes in life. And so there is a moment where we have to really determine toxic. Does that mean abuse, or does that mean just dysfunction?
That's great. That's what that was part of my question is relationships are hard, and we do have different communication styles, attachment styles. Like there are reasons that there can be rub in a relationship, but I guess where's that line between when is something toxic versus hard, or what's there between normal conflict and something a little bit more dangerous or nefarious, I guess, if you will. So what are some of those things that you look for? Is it frequency? Is it the depth of the argument, or is it what in the pattern should cause alarms to go off?
Sure. I'll explain easily the way we talk to our clients. If that is, it's just in conversation. If I was to ask any person, are you being abused? What do you think their response would be?
Most say no, I would imagine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's no reason in the world that I should even ask that question, because it's a ridiculous question, and it's a ridiculous question. Here's what needs to happen. There are diagnostic tools that are used to determine domestic violence. What we do is we take a tool called the power and control wheel, and it's the Duluth Models power and control wheel, and they have done a great job of bringing diagnostic tools to those of us that work in domestic violence response. Okay. So what we can do, this is a way men abuse women, and it's based in the central of the wheel on power and control. And anyone can just search this anywhere and just say power and control wheel, domestic violence, and it'll come up. Here's what we do. We put a heading, we put it on a piece of paper, and we make our own little flyer, and we put on the top, describe your relationship?
Mm.
It's the only question we ask. We don't ask anything else. Describe your relationship. If an individual, female, and I'm saying because the tool works how men abuse women,
Mm-hmm.
when they face and read this tool, it's based in 8 segments. It's a wheel that they can look at about all the different types of abuse. When they start saying, oh, yes, that's me.
Yes.
Oh, he minimized me. He blamed me.
Uh-huh.
He used economic abuse against me. Oh, wait, he used his privilege or the children or something like that. They begin to describe to us the abuse they're facing. We never ask, are you being abused? We ask questions about describe your relationship, because in that conversation, right,
Yeah.
working with a client, you learn about, is it social abuse, economic abuse, financial abuse, sexual abuse?
Gotcha.
There could be physical, but there's a lot of non-physical violence, and a lot of people don't realize that. If I steal your phone
Mm.
and I take your phone, that's non-physical violence, and that's actually a felony,
Mm.
right? People don't realize, but spouses will do it all the time, right? Dale, I'm gonna take your phone. But we use the power and control wheel. And Todd, if someone has a yes, confirmed yes to at least 4 of the 8 segments,
Okay.
there is no doubt in my mind that that is an abusive relationship. And all the protocol that we go forward, our triage in that moment
Right.
is, this is abuse. We're moving forward, healing with the victim, or the perpetrator could be a part of the conversation. Now we know how to treat them clinically.
Okay.
Joint counseling is not ever an option. Never an option. Once abuse is identified, it's never an option. Should never, let me say, we say that,
Right.
should never be an option. And it's important that they're separate so they have their stories and they're not being further abused.
Right. And or either manipulated on the spot, or when they leave, then it causes World War III or even deeper manipulation for the next visit, right? Well,
100%.
okay.
100%.
So let's use that word manipulation. Is part, and this is an ignorant question on my part, but this is what we're here for.
Okay.
Is part of manipulation, is it a power? Is it controlled? Is manipulation just a tool people use to gain power over someone, or is manipulation part of the problem, or is it just a tool they're using manipulation to keep you down, to control you in the way they want you controlled so they can be in charge? Is that, explain a little bit about what's going on in the role of
Yeah.
manipulation in this?
Manipulation is definitely a tactic of abuse. Okay. Manipulation. Here's what it is. I get you to do what I want, the way I want, when I want it,
Hmm.
regardless.
Yeah.
Okay. You are, whether you're afraid of me or you don't think I'll give you money or you think I'll hurt the children, whatever the reason is, it doesn't even matter what the outcome is. Unfortunately, it's
Yeah.
more about, there's a fear factor in this relationship that is causing this person to act and this person to act. Right. And so it's a power and control differential. And so when someone is manipulated, it is called coercion, right?
Yeah.
It's like being a puppet on a string. You
Mm-hmm.
have no control. Someone is gone from someone who might have had some power in some way and in the relationship, but now they're powerless.
Gotcha.
They're literally powerless, right, to this conversation and changing anything or having an impact in the financial aspect of the family,
Right.
or even in the child rearing, what's going to happen with the kids. So someone in manipulation loses it. Even there's a very famous case, right? We talk about, Gabby Petito, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was extreme manipulation in her case. I mean, it was supposed to be some love story. They're writing a blog. But when you look at factors that she was isolated and she was removed from her family, and there were many things that happened, and she was manipulated, right, into becoming someone who unfortunately became a victim that ended up in a very deadly situation.
Yeah.
So domestic violence it's unfortunate, but it can also have a deadly outcome. And I think people don't realize that it's just abuse. He's just doing this. He's difficult, but it can become a problem.
Okay, this was not going to be on one of my questions, but now I got to know. I'm just curious.
Sure.
We hear the word narcissist a lot, especially,
Mhm.
and the more women I know, the more I hear, well, my ex was a narcissist, right? It's a word we throw around a lot. But is a narcissist, because of narcissistic behavior, is that lead into controlling, which can lead to abuse? Like, is narcissism, I'm trying to figure out what the root and the fruit is.
Mhm.
Is a narcissistic personality more apt to be an abuser? I guess that's a great way I want to word that. Like, is that uh, always the trait of an abuser is to be a narcissist, or is that a subset? Or explain that to me.
Sure. I would say, in my opinion, and
Right.
working with myself with narcissists and with victims of violence and thousands of them, I would say that every narcissist is an abuser person.
Okay.
Okay. There's no way that they could not be. Okay.
Yeah.
Abuse is based on power and control.
Yeah.
And a narcissist, ironically, while they seem that they are very strong and they're the one in control, they're actually an extremely insecure person.
Right.
And it is because of their insecurity that they do these tactics, which become the power and control wheel.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
in my mind, when someone says I was with a narcissist, I'm saying to them, I'm sorry, honey, you're just not recognizing you were in an abusive relationship.
That's right.
Right. Now some people say I'm a narcissist, I was with a narcissist, but they won't say they're a domestic violence victim
Right.
or they've been through it. And those are the people that I love and yet I respect, because unfortunately, this is a label. I wear the label. It's a label women don't want. People don't want. Nobody wants it.
Yeah.
So I don't ever shame anyone for just being like, it's a narcissist. But in the work I do, there's not one woman that I've not helped that hasn't had a narcissist
Gotcha.
as a mate,
Yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
mean, that's just part of the deal.
Okay.
Abusers are 100%.
Yeah.
They swallow you.
Yeah.
They swallow you and you're lost in them.
Yeah.
So you become a hollow shell, Todd, of what used to be a vibrant person.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Just like they just take you over and it's like you don't even know what happened to you. It doesn't even matter whether you've been abused, not abused, whatever. Abuse can happen in any relationship. And it's just like something you don't even expect
Yeah.
and you can miss it.
Well, that's interesting because it's not it would be so easy if somebody came in as an abuser right off the bat. The issue is there's, and I want you to expound. I am not the expert. Sometimes there's the love bombing at first, or there is the let me give you my best behavior at first, and then it starts trickling in with good behavior, with bad behavior, until you probably get to a point where it's a heck of a lot of bad behavior. But sometimes it's um the the nice compliment with the backhanded compliment, the let me check in on you versus I want to know where you are at all times. Like, explain a little bit of that. And I know you were talking about a video that showed this example of the back and forth that narcissists and abusers can use these tactics. Talk a little bit more about those.
Sure. So there's a couple things that you brought up, right? Some definitions of things, right? Love bombing, gaslighting,
Mm.
like trying to understand what those are. And then also, how does it switch over the line,
Yeah.
right? Like, how do we switch over? So, love bombing is definitely a tactic that abusers do. And anyone who's been in an abusive relationship should know that that is a sign.
Okay.
Unfortunately, okay, I believe that abuse is systemic, means it's in every system,
Okay.
it's generational and spiritual. Okay.
Wow.
Well, you tell me what system doesn't believe that there's a happily ever after for a family, right? Our movies tell us there's happily ever
Yeah.
after. Our systems say you can get married, right? Generationally, everyone wants everyone to get together. They don't like breaking up in families. And then even spiritually, even the church or any faith, right, is like keep the marriage or the relationship together.
Right.
Okay. So that's just kind of how it goes. So there's this belief system that when I meet someone, they're going to care about me the same way, right? We're going to enter this equally. That is what that That's not a bad thing. That's normal. And
Okay.
that's unfortunately, a person who's naive
Mhm.
becomes a victim to domestic violence and abuse at the beginning because they were naive and they believed all of those things. So, what happens with love bombing is I love you. You are the best thing, Todd, that ever happened to me since sliced bread, right?
Mhm.
Like, I want to know where you go. I want to know everything about you. I want to do this. Well, that eventually becomes something like stalking.
Yeah.
It becomes, what are you doing? Right. And we're going to talk about that in just a minute when we talk about that video. So,
Yeah.
love bombing is, I love you. I love you. Now, in even our classes, we talk about women who are ready to go back out and date because we're with them for 12 weeks and even beyond. And in that, there's usually an interest to go and date in some of our clients, which is totally normal.
Sure.
Nothing's wrong with that. But here's what we find. The chemistry, what I say to them every time is the guy that you think you like and that your body is telling you like is not the guy for you.
Wow.
No, it is not. No, your body is lying to you. That
Mhm.
person is probably an abuser. That person is exciting. The chemistry is there. All the things that Hollywood and
Yeah.
everyone's going to tell you, but it's a lie. It's a lie.
Yeah.
The guy that is for you that you're not even noticing is really under amazing,
Mhm.
probably boring, and probably someone who's not getting you all this and that. And there's a clinical reason for that because people in this state have been used to being da, 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 right? And that is unfortunately normal.
Okay.
So they're, I don't say predisposed because people aren't predisposed to abuse
Right.
because I've seen people be abused that have never had abuse in their life. So I
Yeah.
never predict it. But
Yeah.
what I'm saying is if you fall into it,
Yeah.
once you've been into it, you are more likely now to be suspect to a narcissist love bombing you and going crazy. What you don't see is that those are tactics that they're doing to use power and control. Now they know everything about you. They know every password you have. They know every mile that you put on your car. They know everyone you talk to. Now, guess what? Now, Todd, if you mess up and you talk to someone I don't like, I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I hear girls in the background. I don't like that, Todd.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Right? So all of a sudden things subtly change. Here's the other aspect that happens in a relationship because we're all believing that love is this romantic chemical thing we feel. Okay.
Yeah.
And in that, what I discovered in my own life, and I've told this to many women, I've seen it, but I can only speak in my own life. We are more predisposed to be desiring, right?
Yeah.
This thing that just is like more and more exciting, right? There's
Mhm.
an insatiable part of us because we were trying to fill a need that we didn't have, this people pleasing. So, what I always tell everyone is recognize that what you think, what your mind, what your heart, what your body is telling you you need may be false.
Yeah.
And in abuse, the body keeps score. There's a lot of domestic violence expert work in the body keeps score about trauma and
Mhm.
things. And in that journey, you have to also heal the relationship and how you seek love, how you feel self-love. And many of the women that we work with have low self-esteem to the point that they're willing to do self-harm, to do
Mhm.
things that are damaging to them only so they can feel that love and appreciation that is honestly just so normal,
Yeah.
right? It's normal. So there's no one to be shamed for wanting this. What we're trying to do is help them find a way where they can learn how to have a healthier relationship and see those crossovers in the line about the
Yeah.
behavior.
Well,
Yeah,
let me break in there. Yeah, thank you.
sure.
I asked too long of a questions. We have a great long answer. Let me
Sure.
set it up a little bit more. Um, I feel like sometimes you're right with this. You have clinical wording for things thought that I just have, but I think sometimes the
Yes.
women who are used to this chaotic way of being in a relationship, they
Yeah.
don't like or don't even know what slow burn love is. Like just evidence of love, not just the passion, but it started to make me think about passion. It's like when you love somebody or hate somebody, it's passion. And so the up
Yeah.
and down, at least there's oh, that's what love is. It's going to be highs and lows or whatever. And it's like, well, it doesn't have to have the lows in it. It doesn't have to.
Exactly.
And so if you just
Exactly.
meet a guy who's not love bombing, doesn't come in hot, it's the slow burn. Those are probably the
Yeah.
safest ones to have because they're not trying to prove anything or win you over in the first month, which is what I hear all the time. Like, oh, we're so in love. It's like, you just met them. You don't even know their middle name yet. How are you in love? I don't even understand it. Yeah.
Exactly. And for some reason, having self-control, okay, becomes more a spiritual conversation, I find in the church, than a trauma-informed conversation.
Interesting.
And we should be having more trauma-informed conversations about people waiting to get in relationships
Right.
because it's really more about them being healthy and safe
Right.
in their reactions to other humans and other relationships, right? And so for some reason, we're like, oh, you can't do that because there's a spiritual wrongness, but we're missing the point. The point is, you got to get healthy, friend.
Yeah.
Like, I want you to get healthy. If you can find a program or a group or a community that can really help you heal, it's wonderful. But what I found is our singles, unfortunately, like especially my women who are coming out of a relationship, they could be at any age, right?
Yeah.
And they might be looking for another relationships or and not looking for it. And it finds them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
It just happens. And so my thing is because they are uncomfortable being on their own 2 feet and standing solid, like who they are as a person, they're not ready yet.
Uh-huh.
They're still, they want to yoke too quickly.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that is a bad thing, but what I'm saying is because they're just not confident enough in them being a woman of God,
That's right.
them being a daughter of the king, and them being able to make their own individual choices that they find themselves, I need to have someone to make me complete.
That's right.
And that completeness is a falsehood. It's a lie from the enemy. I mean, really.
Agreed.
But they don't know that. And because they've been shamed, because maybe they're in a divorce and they've been shamed because of that.
Yeah.
Maybe they had something, an affair or whatever, right? And they feel shamed by that. They feel less than. And you're like, please don't. It's time to heal because until a person heals through whatever the journey has been, they're not going to be ready
Right.
for that healthy relationship that's waiting for them to come at any time.
You're 100% right. And then you'll get tricked by the same tactics that we were just talking about. Let's go back to tactics real quick. I'm leading the witness. So if this is wrong, tell me it's
Sure.
wrong. One of them we just mentioned was, just this love bomb at the very beginning, which is a tactic in itself to draw someone in, learn a lot about them so you can control them. And another one, is what I'm assuming is isolationism. It's like, oh, now we're together. Here's what that looks like. So what you can go ahead and throw everybody out because it's just me and you, babe, for the rest of the world. Is that not another tactic of just saying I can control you when I get you away from your friends, from your old habits, from your old world, even from family members, so that I can start dominating you? Is that true?
Let's take a quick break.
Are you making the tough decision about divorce or in the middle of your recovery? Well, I have a few books you will want to read. Don't navigate one of the hardest journeys you will face without a roadmap. Visit toddturner.com/books to find the helpful guide you can keep with you during this time of decisions and healing. toddturner.com/books. Now back to the program.
There are two main tactics, Todd, that need to happen for abuse to occur. And isolation is one of them.
Okay.
Right? It's dependency and isolation.
Okay.
So the isolation is key because not only do I have to make someone dependent upon me in all the ways, and it could be different ways, but the isolation needs to be important because I need that person to be fully engrossed into my needs.
Okay.
Power and control needs someone to be the victim and someone to be sort of the abuser.
Savior or the abuser or savior. Yeah.
So there has to be a power and control difference. So I have to be in charge of you. I have to tell you what to do. I have to tell you what not to do. I have to do all those things so that you can be a good person, you can be happy. And it's a very warped way, but the person who's being abused, now their life completely transforms into every moment, everything they think is, what can I do to keep this person from being upset, being angry, being this, being that. And again, so it changes the motivation. So if I want you to never see your family again, because your family could be a voice I don't ever want you to hear, I will work to isolate you from your family. Right.
Okay.
And then what happens is eventually, once I've taken you away, I will keep you from your family and be like, girl, Todd, if we love each other, you know how bad your family is.
Right.
You know how they want to control us. Right. And the whole Romeo and Juliet kind of idea happens. Right. That
Yeah.
whole idea of it's us and we're going to start our own life.
Yeah.
And Todd, I'm not saying this I am an expert in domestic violence, but I'm also saying this in my own personal life. Okay. Because in my younger days, I was literally taken from a place by my partner to another place across the country. And the entire story was, we're going to write our love story, babe. We're going to do this. Like, if you just leave everywhere, I left everything. I left the people, my family, every social network. And it wasn't until I was across the country completely alone. It was just the two of us writing our love story.
Yeah.
That abuse just became something I had never imagined. So isolation is key.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about these tactics. So there's two major ones that people may have seen or not seen, or let's say somebody's in an abusive relationship with a narcissist, right? We already say those two work together.
Sure.
Explain a little bit about what your day would look. Let's go back to this video that we were talking about. This idea of how the positive and the negatives are intertwined. So when you're talking to them, it's not like they're total jerks all the time. So it's easy to say, oh, that guy's a jerk. But when there's tactics of love mixed with care, mixed with domination, like what does that look like? So that somebody might be able to say, oh yeah, I experience that right now. Explain a little bit about what that might look like.
Sure. Well, the video called The Line, that hopefully they'll have a link for it, is it's under a minute, and it's something I've used as a training tool for about a decade. I mean, it's a great tool. I've used it for teens, I've used it for adults, I've used it for all kinds of people. For example, it's about a guy who's talking on the phone to his girlfriend, right? And there's a line, right? He's going to cross, right? Because is it love or is it control? Like, what's the deal, right? And it's a great tool. Here's an example. Hey, babe, hey, Todd, how you doing, right? How's everything going? How are we doing? How's everything? And we're having a cute, loving conversation.
Okay.
Then all of a sudden, wait a minute. Is that girls in the background? Wait, what's going on? What are you doing? Where are you?
Yeah.
Right. So the voice changes, the attitude changes, the sharpness changes. Wait a minute. Are there guys there? Are there girls? In the video, it's a guy talking to a girl.
Okay.
In our example, it's the opposite. So I would encourage people to recognize that when you are entering any relationship, there is it's an easy line between love and control. And what you have to do is listen to how they're talking to you when they don't have control over you.
Okay.
Okay. When a person who is a healthy partner doesn't have control over you, you're at a place they don't know. You're with friends at a concert. You're out with your parents on some reunion. Who knows what, Yeah, they might miss you, and yeah, they might want to hear from you, but they are not going to send you 72 texts about who are you? What are you doing? Who are you with? How are you doing it? Are you with someone else?
Yeah.
those are completely two different people. So when you are apart from a partner, I think it tells you more about how that partner will be with you in a healthy or unhealthy relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I love this. Okay. I don't mean to jump to the end, but this is how my brain is going. Okay. This feels like
Sure.
an ender, but it's not an ender.
Yeah.
I guess my question is this. So let's say someone is listening to this. They're like, you know what? I probably am in a toxic relationship and I've been in toxic relationships,
Uh-huh.
but we sometimes feel in love, whatever the word in love means. People
Yeah.
feel in love. Is it possible that, well, okay. Oh, here's my question. Ready? Is it
Okay.
honestly possible if one of the victim realizes they're a victim, they
Hmm.
go to the accuser and say, I'm seeing this behavior in you. I'm not standing for it. And they leave, or they say, let's work through this. And will narcissists really get counseling? Because most narcissists don't think they're narcissists. I think they just are. And they manipulate the world around their selfish behavior. So is it fixable? Is my question. Is it normally fixed? Or is
Uh-huh.
the best route to put up your defense mechanisms, draw your lines, and probably exit?
Those are all great questions. I think here's one of the conversation tools that we teach our women to use, and they're very simple.
Okay.
Okay, it's when you, I feel,
Yeah.
I want.
Okay.
Okay, super simple. Like when you are faced with a conversation with a person, you can say, when you yell at me
Hmm.
when you walk into the room, I feel scared. I want you to not yell at me anymore.
Okay.
Okay. Healthy statement. New partner, healthy statement, right? How does that partner respond?
Yeah.
What do they do,
Yeah.
right? Do they, well, you know what? I yelled at you because it was your fault,
Right. Right.
blah, blah,
I'm
blah,
only
blah, blah. Or
reacting to
I
your
had a
actions.
bad day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. That tells you everything.
That's right.
If they blame you, if they blame someone else, if they don't take responsibility for their actions, that tells you they have no emotional maturity.
Mhm.
They're not going to be a healthy partner, and you need to exit stage right.
Okay.
That's the
That's
answer.
the
I mean,
truth. Yeah.
yeah. But the problem, Todd, is we don't. And here's why we don't, because we've already got fallen in love. We've already fallen in love. And I think hope, I teach hope to people and I love talking about hope, but I think hope also gets us in trouble when it comes to love. I think that we believe we kind of project these dreams onto people. We hope for all these happiness that's going to happen. And I think I'm talking for myself as someone who had been in abusive relationships. I had hope that I would find someone who loved me,
Hmm.
who cared for me, and that we could have a happy love story.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not that's a normal thing, okay? So I never want to shame people for having normal, healthy feelings. Unfortunately, they're trying to kind of look for love in the wrong places. They're working too quickly. They're moving to fill things with the wrong people because they're not ready to stay the course yet, right? It takes time to really make sure that you care about someone, that you love someone. And I would say to any person who's been in an abusive relationship or in anything like that, you really need extra care as you pick a partner. And I would get some friends,
Yeah.
get some counsel, get some people that you care about to really walk with you in building this new relationship.
Yeah.
You know, because Todd, many of your listeners are divorced.
Yeah.
They're looking and praying for that new partner. They want that life. They want God to bless that for them, right?
That's right.
And they may be lonely, right? They're looking for things. And so part of that journey is ensuring that when they meet that person is right for them, they're healthy, and they're not going to find themselves in an unhealthy relationship a couple years down the road, right?
Yeah. No, yes. It's funny you say that about the divorce because I was sitting here thinking the same thing. It's like, almost never. I would use the word never, except I don't like using the word never, or
Yeah.
always or never are bad words because they're almost never true, pun intended. But
Yeah.
when most divorces aren't, well, we just decided we weren't compatible. I love them. They're great. They love me. It's just we decided we're incompatible. And there's normally real trauma with a divorce. There's a reason the marriage didn't work.
Mhm.
There's
Right.
there's the fruit, there's the root, and there's all this stuff. And then when it ends in a divorce, you never really get to fix that stuff. So one of the worst things you can do is say, well, that relationship didn't work, but I'll go get in a new one and that's the one's gonna work. Is
Right.
there's some toxic behavior normally in the marriage and normally from both parties to some level. But in
Right.
this case, if a woman was married to a narcissist, it would be foolish to go out and think, I'll just meet another guy who won't be that much of a jerk. It's like, no. Like you've been in a toxic relationship. If you don't know the signs and you allow them
Mhm.
and you don't draw the lines, you're going to fail again, or you're going to be in a horrible relationship. And I mean, I was sitting here thinking, there's no way to have stats on this, but
Mhm.
I can only count on one hand how many people I've talked to that were married, met
Yeah.
somebody immediately, got happily married, and lived the rest of their lives with that person. Most people stumble into multiple relationships as they try to figure out who they are and what they want and heal. If they even heal at all, some people don't even try to heal. They just jump in their relationship. And it's sad how many years go by that people fight until they finally realize, wait a minute, I see a common denominator here. It may be me and
Mhm.
how I'm choosing. And I see that over and over and over again. And I'm assuming you do too, whether it's divorce or not. It's just abuse, like you said, the tendencies to just allow these people in your lives because you know nothing else. And you just figure everybody's like this, but it's not true. Not everybody's a narcissist. Not all men are pigs. They're not. I mean, and so when I hear people say men are like that, it always scares me. It's like, I hear a person saying, everyone I allow in my life is not very healthy. So therefore, I think everybody else is not healthy.
Right. And I agree with you. Labels like always and never and all people
Yeah.
and, everyone, those are dangerous labels because that's not true. And I have heard so many times all men are abusers. I've
Yeah.
heard all men, no abuse. I've heard no abuser can ever be restored.
Mm.
I've heard things and I don't believe any of those things, right?
Right.
I don't. I have seen miracles. I have seen people change and I am a person of faith, right? And
Yeah.
I have seen people who could be a terrible person change. And I think that that is when we really recognize that we're humans that can make mistakes, but we can be new people.
Yeah.
It's important, right? And not signing everyone off. I will tell you that the percentage of abusive people that do change is very, 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 very small.
Okay.
And an abusive person would need to go through, I would recommend a multi-year process to go through to learn because they have to learn how to change behaviors. Unfortunately, what happens too often is the abuse might happen or divorce or situation. Let's maybe not even say divorce, separation. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden there's this reconciliation because everyone wants reconciliation. But as an expert in domestic violence, reconciliation like that is dangerous. It's so dangerous. And so if the proper things have not been done and the abuse is not recognized and treated, them getting back together in reconciliation only typically means that the abusive victim or victim will be abused more
More. Yeah. Yeah.
down the road.
It's really interesting, to tie it into biblical terms. The Bible talks about how hard it is for rich men to get into heaven. And I know
Mm,
that's probably looked at in a lot of unhealthy ways, but the truth is, when you don't have need, you don't need a savior, right?
right.
And the same with a narcissist. If a narcissist has money and God forbid good looks, that man has no need to go fix himself because he can just keep abusing. He has the resources to go do it. And there's the odds of a person to say, I'm willing to give up um, all my behaviors and tactics that
Mhm.
control everything around me is almost zero, I would imagine. It's not zero, but it's close. And then for them to say, yeah, why do I do this? And how do I stop doing this while they stop doing it? Like, I mean,
Mhm.
that feels like a really hard thing to do. And so, unfortunately for women, what I think we're saying is when you meet a narcissist, your best bet is to get away from them and then hold the line and not date narcissists. Like, really pay attention. So I guess besides the two tactics you've made at the first, of the two tactics that narcissists use to set up
Mhm.
the table, are those the red flags? Like, how do you know you're dating a narcissist, and what is the easiest way to find out on date one or date two? Or is this something that you just say, okay, I didn't know at the beginning, I'm now seeing enough behaviors, now I know? Like, what do you recommend to people to do an assessment check on themselves? And you did talk about the wheel to go look at, I guess, is a big part of that, right?
Yeah, the wheel is, I would say, the best diagnostic tool to recognize abuse. That is a very interesting question because I'm sitting at a first date and this guy or gal is charming, totally my type, saying everything I want to hear, and like ready to have a relationship, right?
Mhm.
So even after the first meeting, I'm already believing with hope that, wow, there might be a future here. So I'm not going to probably see a narcissist in date one.
Okay.
It's going to be down the road that I'm going to see when all of a sudden I need to go and change my schedule. Think about it.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I got to change my schedule because I met some guy on LinkedIn and he wants me to go have a coffee with him. What?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what's the response to that? Right?
Right.
Like, what is that out of nowhere? So, those are the kinds of things that I would say to somebody that you only know that over time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't talk to specific examples, but I can talk to just knowing I've worked with women since 2013 through our charity. And I have seen many, many women get into relationships. Okay.
Okay.
Over the years. That's
Okay.
about all I can say. Lots of them, lots of them,
Yeah.
lots of them. And in most every case, unfortunately, if they joined during our program, not after,
Okay.
but during, they found themselves into another abusive relationship.
Wow. Wow.
Even though, and it was like, if they made it past week 7 or week 6, they could do it because that's boundaries, right? And things like
Mhm.
that. But
Mhm.
if it started sooner than that, then they were still in the thing. Or they might not tell the group the truth,
Right.
right? And that's
Okay.
okay. People
Okay.
don't tell the truth, right? They're doing this and that, but
Right.
they don't say like, oh no, I'm not doing that. But we all know. And in it doesn't matter, but what I want all of my clients to do, and Todd, I know all of your listeners, you want them to do it, is we want them to be safe, right, in whatever they do, because always dating, I think, is a dangerous thing that people don't realize. Many people are assaulted by someone that they're on a date with, right? And that is a big deal. And so that happens a lot to
Yeah.
clients that I'm with. And so that's another topic, right? That's important. And so I always tell people, if you're dating again, if you're doing these things, that's okay, but be safe. If you need accountability partners,
Yeah.
one of the things our groups do for the women is while they're in the journey, they kind of become friends,
Yeah.
right? So they can text each other, they can talk to each other, and they have a community of women that are going through similar things.
Yeah.
And that's important for anybody who's going through a journey. So any of your listeners too, I would tell them, if you don't have a community or a small group or a church or a friend group,
Right.
connect. It's real important to find that because we need each other, right? We
Yeah.
need support.
I totally agree. I'm gonna say another bold thing that I think is
Hmm.
100% true.
Yeah.
I know people. I won't say any names. They will listen to this, but their argument to me is, I'm ready to find my person, and they go out on dates a lot. They're always going out on dates
Hmm.
because they're
Hmm.
like, I got to find my person. And my
Sure.
argument, the best way to find your person, pray. Pray for your person. Like, pray for that person and be very picky. It's not going out on the most dates. It's go on less dates and pray and have your friends pray and look for the right
Hmm.
person and Let the slow burn win, not the guy who comes in and sweeps you off the feet. The guy who you may not like or think you like because his personality may
Right.
not be right. That may be the healthiest guy for you. And you
Right.
fall in love with you fall in love. Once again, love's not a feeling. It's their actions. And
Yeah.
you will, when you get real love from somebody, you'll feel it in a way you didn't even know was real. You'll feel safe versus, as you talked about, if you're in a relationship where you're always walking on eggshells, then you've got to
Yeah.
change your behavior to keep that person satisfied. That, how is anything in there involve love at all? It's just
Right.
you're placating your partner because he's a narcissist and he's controlled you in a way that you have to watch what you wear, what you say, what you do, how you do it, and they've got total control on you, and you've given your life up to keep the peace. And it's like
Right.
a healthy relationship wouldn't ask that out of you.
Right. And I think you brought up a key phrase, I'm walking on eggshells. And I really want to talk to your listeners about that phrase because a lot of people hear that, right? We hear that from friends, we hear that from family members. Oh, I'm just walking on eggshells around them, whatever. But what people don't realize is that is code for I am facing a situation that is verbally and emotionally abusive to me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is what those words mean.
Yeah.
And so when I hear someone say, I am very alerted to they're facing an abusive situation. And so I think that we can become better in listening to our friends and our family and loved ones if we hear them say those words, I'm walking on eggshells. Another thing that we hear a lot is, I've tried everything to keep them happy, but no matter what I do, I can't keep them happy. Right.
Yeah.
And that is
Whoever
speaks to
said that's your
abuse and
job?
power and control.
Yeah, it's all about control because that's
Yeah.
not what you're. I mean, yeah, it's really funny because I had this conversation with someone the other day of I just want
Yeah.
you happy. And it's like,
Yeah.
as believers, it's like, well, I want my spouse happy, but that's not the trump card. Like we're not supposed to just create unhealthy behaviors to keep somebody happy because what can make somebody happy may not be a healthy thing, right? That's why people get themselves in troubles all the time in relationships.
Exactly.
I mean,
And people who are abusive can't be happy by someone else. Does that make
oh
sense? And so,
yeah,
and
yeah,
actually, actually, this is like a clinical dynamic about it. There's a clinical dynamic about it where the victim feels that they have control over over abuse because somehow they think I can make them happy or not.
okay,
Right? If the
yeah,
victim thinks that I made them mad and that's why they hurt me after dinner, okay? Then they think that they're causing the abuse, which gives them some idea that they have control. But unfortunately, the victim doesn't have control over the abuse. The abuse is just happening no matter what they're doing. So this idea that there's power and control there, so the victim kind of is in this blame factor, right?
right,
Okay, I'm whatever. So the abuser just keeps abusing because the victim is accepting the fact that they're responsible for the abuse. And so it's this dynamic that keeps happening. And when the victim would step up and say, stop it, unfortunately, a couple things can happen. The victim could be seriously injured, killed, right? Something terrible could happen to them just for standing up.
yeah,
Or something could change. And that's the difference between an abusive relationship and a healthy relationship is Todd, if we're in an abusive relationship, when I speak back to you, even if I use my good words, I use my words, like my when you, I feel I want, those aren't going to work on you because you're abusive, right? There's nothing about those words that are going to matter. And you're going to come at me and you're going to need me to conform to whatever you need. And that's the way abusive relationships work. Healthy relationships don't work that way. Healthy relationships are like, hey, I've got a problem. I can't do this. I need this. whatever. And the other person's like, hey, let's see what we can do to work it out.
yeah. Because I
And
care about you, and I want to help you in your needs. Yeah,
yeah. And you don't swallow. I always think about relationships as a Venn diagram. And I know Venn diagrams have gotten some bad press in the years, but this is really important. When you think about a relationship, there's you and me. Okay.
Yeah.
There's like you and me, you can see us right here. But then there's an us. There's kind of like
Right.
an us. But the problem with abusive relationships is this you swallows me.
Ah, yeah.
But when it should never be that way. It should be you and me still are separate and we come together, but there's still, right, these little parts of us that are separate.
That's right.
You, me, and us. There's a difference, but abusive relationships swallow a human. They take another person over.
Yeah.
So we have friends, we have loved ones, we have people we know and care about at work. We can see them being lost to us sometimes.
Yeah.
They used to be social, but now they're with so-and-so and now they're like never there. Or they're a little more crazy, a little bit more hyperactive, a little bit more, and those are signs of, unfortunately, a friend and loved one that's being abused in a way, and they're just trying to, deal with it. And I think over time, the more you deal with people who've been in abusive relationships, I personally have just come to sort of an empathy and an understanding. I can see it very clearly on others.
Right.
But one of my goals, Todd, is to help as many people as I can understand these things as a friend.
Yeah.
My gosh, if you hear your friend saying I'm walking on eggshells, point them in the as a domestic violence help. Say, friend, you do need some help.
Yeah. Well, I love that. So let me make sure I heard something correctly. Your tactic that you give people that are abused to say, when you do this, I feel this way, that little tactic, it's really not going to change the other person as much as it's an indicator to you that person doesn't care. Like it's really a tactic for you to open your eyes to say, wow, I'm doing a really good job expressing my needs and my issue, and they're not responding correctly, so that you have an aha moment. I mean, really, that's the point of that tactic, right?
That's right. Try a healthy tactic on another human being and see what they do
See
with
what they
it,
do.
right?
Okay.
If they don't know what to do and they go berserk and they go crazy and they're doing this and that, you might have found yourself a narcissist or someone
Right.
who's abusive. It's like, remember, this is what we tell our women. Boundary setting or healthy communication tactics don't work on abusive people. They just don't work. And so if you're trying to do that and they're not responding, they're not equipped to have a healthy conversation. So you yourself can keep yourself from being in their power and control dynamic. You can get both feet on the ground. You can figure out what you're doing and you can have a healthier relationship, even if that other person is still unhealthy for you. And it's really about it's more about self-control, right? When you learn how to speak clearly, you can speak emotions clearly and you lose the emotion, you can say to another human being, that doesn't work for me.
Right. That's right. Well, it's so funny. Boy, I know we don't have enough time for what I'm fixing to say, but I want to say it out loud anyway. I'm assuming your advice changes based on the situation. And here's one of the examples I'm talking about. If somebody hasn't totally gobbled up your independence, you might be able, before it's too late, say, this relationship isn't good for me. I'm out of here, because you still have your house, you still have your job, you still have your network of friends, and you can survive cutting that off. And I would imagine that is your best bet for those who are listening, that if you can get out of an abusive narcissistic relationship and land well, your answer is do it tonight. But sometimes
Yes,
these
good
people
advice.
have control over you, and you feel like, I can't leave. I don't even have a car. I live on the other side of the country. I don't even have money. He has my credit card. He has all I have is my purse and my tennis shoes. And what's your
Yes.
advice to them? Because they may not think they have any other option but to endure and survive.
Well, we work with women like that all the time.
Okay.
And one of the things that they have to realize is, what is the safety protocol? Whenever someone is recognizing they're in domestic violence and they're thinking about changing, leaving, getting help, we all have to understand it's the most dangerous time. They're 75% more likely to be killed or seriously injured.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I think the listeners need to recognize, if you're all of a sudden saying, I think I might be in domestic violence, or I think someone I know is, recognize when they're leaving. So they need to seek domestic violence help, whether that's domestic violence hotline, calling Stronger, or calling a shelter nearby. That is critical. You need safety planning. That idea that friends just go by and you jump in a truck and you leave, that is the most dangerous thing to ever do for a human being. It takes planning, it takes safety. We need to understand what the level of danger is. And there are great strategies to help someone leave. But I'm going to tell you, a person feels lost once they are sucked in by abuse. They feel they have no access, they have no money, they have no communication, they have no privacy.
Yeah.
It's about privacy too, right? So these are things that, until this level of safety is addressed, we don't know how to act.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to do something if someone's unsafe. I'm not going to be sending them an email like I normally do. Right? We don't do that because we don't want her to get hurt. We have to think about it. What's the best thing? And so it takes time.
Yeah.
But if I would say any friend, this is my best advice as woman to woman or man to man. I don't know how man do it, so you can answer this, Todd. I have come to learn my intuition is my best guide. God brings me the Holy Spirit. And when I get around an abusive person, I vibe it like you don't even know. It's like danger, danger, danger.
Wow.
And so I would tell my friends on this podcast and anything, if you sense that, I don't care who they are, how high they are in anything. Friends, if you feel they're abusive, you got to get away from them. You just have to cut and run. It's about self-preservation.
Yeah.
And it's about preserving your own well-being and safety long-term.
Yeah. And I'm put a caveat on what I'm about ready to say, because you have real world experience I do not have. But I am sure there is somebody listening to this, whether it's as soon as this comes out or 5 years from now. It doesn't matter. This thing will live out, and who knows who's going to listen to when. But they've probably been lied to by their spouse so much to think they have no other options. Like, you couldn't make it without me. I'll find you, whatever. They have beat them down to believe the lie. And my point is, there's a God in heaven who cares and sees you. And there are systems in place to protect people like you. Like, if you call the hotline, do the thing, pray to your Lord, and there are options. No matter if you believe there's not, there is. There's always a way. God will make a way. I don't want you to do something stupid, but you know what I mean? Like you said, it is a dangerous, statistically, very dangerous time, but your hope is not gone. It's not gone. There's a way out. There's a God who is in the business of miracles still.
Todd, I have witnessed in my years of working with women, miracles beyond miracles. I have seen God move in women's lives when they take a stand and a step and they move forward and they've got their faith, they've got their strength in Him. They are really powerful. And I have seen amazing stories and testimonies of these women. And many of these women then become spokespeople to help other women and grab their hand and bring them through. And that's how it is. It's just one woman helping another woman, helping another woman. And that's really what a lot of times we find in bringing our groups together is they support each other, encourage each other, and build a new friendship, relationship.
I love that, because it is something. There's one thing about getting out of the house. It's another thing to think, well, where am I going to live? What am I going to do? There are people out there who provide emergency housing, transitional housing, long-term housing, teaching you a trade, getting you your new identity back, new identities. Like, there are systems in place. There are nonprofits out there that do great work, and they are available. So don't believe it if you just think, there's no way I could do it. Yeah, there is a way. There is a way.
Mm-hmm.
And I just got through taking a Giving University class, and I'm learning about all these nonprofits out there. And there's so many great places doing some amazing things, and people of the Lord are giving to these things. There's some great resources out there, and yours is one of them. So let's end with that.
Yeah.
Somebody's listening to this and they're like, okay, I guess I better go watch that video and I better download that wheel. But tell
Yeah.
them what do you recommend for somebody who's saying, okay, I may be in some of these patterns. I may not even be in one right now, but I see the pattern and I'm probably going to get another one. What should I do? Like, what is your answer for the takeaway for the so what for today?
Yeah, I would say anybody who's questioning their own relationship, a past relationship, a future relationship, I would say download the Power and Control Wheel and study that.
Okay.
Get familiar with that and understand it. And when and if you date or work to find a partner, understand what does that feel like? What is abusive patterns? What are those like? I would also tell a person that really resonate with people who you can talk to about new partners that you're going to be with. Find a peer group, wise group, counsel group that you can have them meet,
Okay.
have whether it's ongoing relationships. I would also discourage anything quick, any quick romance, anything that says, baby, we're going to change the world and we're going to write our own love story. That to me sounds like abuse about ready to happen. And I don't want that to happen to any of our friends. I want your heart to be right and I want you to find your soulmate, but I want you to find your soulmate and stay well and stay healthy. And it's okay if your soulmate takes time.
That's right.
Isn't that the proof of the soulmate,
It's so
right?
funny you say that. I literally was going to counter that with this, and that is,
Yeah.
you don't find a soulmate, you make a soulmate, right?
Yep.
It's not like,
Yep.
oh, here's my soulmate, so therefore I got to put up with everything else because that's my soulmate. No. Create your soulmate, create the relationship,
Yeah.
create a healthy relationship, lean into one another with love, true love, not feelings, but the actions of love. The Bible tells us what love is and all the behaviors of love. And if we don't see that, then we're like, well, that's not love. And so
Yeah.
I don't like the word soulmate, but I'm okay with it when you invest into a soulmate and it creates
I
a
love
soulmate
that.
situation. I'm down with that. But
Yeah, I agree. I
yeah,
agree
the
with you. And
Disney version of soulmate, like we see movies and people meet each other and in an hour and a half, they're already falling in love and walking off to the sunset. Like that's impossible. You can't fall in love in an hour and a half.
right. And that's the challenge because our society tells us
That's
that's
right.
love. And that to us is, that's an abusive relationship about ready to start.
That's right.
And I think that's what we need to realize is just because we're seeing it out in the world and we're seeing it and we think that's the truth, it's really not the truth. So I love what you're saying. Invest in a soulmate, build a soulmate, ask God for that soulmate because over time, that's the relationship that will stand the test of time
Right.
that we need to survive the challenges of life, right? You need somebody who's going to stay with you in good and bad.
That's right.
And that's what we need. Who's not going to hurt you for their good.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
So that's not what love is.
100% right. All right. Tell everybody a little bit about your website and what they can do there.
Sure. Strongerwomen.com. We have different information. There are emergency resources and quizzes so people can take that.
Okay.
There's information about classes. And if someone wants to join an open group or a training that I have coming up or an upcoming class, they can hit the contact us on the website. That'll come straight to me. I'll reach out to them and we'll get them plugged in and we can work together and begin to change lives.
Love it. Thank you for spending the time helping us. I've learned a lot today. I hope our listeners have as well. This won't be your last time here. So everybody stay tuned. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks, Todd, for having me on the show.
Hey, it's Todd Turner. If you're a woman trying to rebuild after a divorce, I've got a workbook just for you. Faith-based, practical, and real. Check it out at toddturner.com. There's more where this came from. Stick around. You got this. Hey, before you go, if this podcast has encouraged you, would you consider helping me keep it going? UnYoked is now a registered nonprofit, which means your gift is tax deductible and goes directly towards helping more people rebuild their lives after divorce. You can give at toddturner.com/donate. Whether it's $10 or $50, it really does make a difference. Thanks for listening, and thanks for being a part of this much-needed community.